London Calling YouTube, London Calling everyone, and I'd like to introduce London Calling all the way over in the US, returning once again, the Bun.
Hello.
And from all the way in Germany, a brand new guest, Fratis. Can you tell us something about yourself?
I'm your classical white privileged male, also heterosexual.
We're going to have fun with you tonight. And from Sydney, Australia on, I think, your second appearance, Milan.
Hello, everyone. Weep and gibber, for I have returned.
And London Calling all the way in Sweden, Pinge.
Yeah, hello. No voice, but here I am.
No voice. Well, I can hear you, and I hope the audience can. So, the opening topic, Russia. So, Pinge, as a resident of Sweden, are we looking at Russian expansionism or Russian saber rattling?
Both, I think. But the thing is that I think it's an old, building empire style from the old age, where Russia was a big empire, and then they thought they were big, and now they're losing that because the world is changing, and we are not big empires anymore. We are more like people gathering with tasks and so on. We are more like, I like this thing, and then I gather all around the world with people around the world with that thing, not with a big empire and countries. And that's a problem for Russia. So now they have to wave its penis to really still be strong and still be like a big empire. That's what I think it is.
And Milan, as a former Russian resident, your thoughts?
Well, it's either one of two things, or maybe a mixture of both. One, it's either intercontinental dick-waving, and Russia essentially wanting to show the world that, yes, we are the terrible thing in the East that you must all fear and dream about with terrifying hesitation. It's either that, I hope to God that it's that, or it's Russia, Pingo said, it's Russia not exactly trying to regain, not to invade other countries. I don't think it's world domination. I think Russia is just trying to regain some of its lost property, as it were. But that's the greatest fear, and I hope that Putin isn't insane enough to try that out. But Putin, to me, seems more like a man he seems far too smart to risk thermonuclear war. He just wants to instill a little bit of fear in the rest of the world to let them all know that, yes, we are here. We are Russia, because it would have been a hell of a lot more practical to just buy that little fucking island back instead of just go with this whole overly militarized thing. Because you can buy your old property back from the guys who you gave independence to. But, it's, like I said before, it's intercontinental dick waving. I'm copywriting that shit, by the way. But yeah, I hope it is. I sincerely hope it is. Because, my greatest fear in this, if there is some sort of, international incident that, Russia will erect another Iron Curtain around its borders, cutting off any and all communication with the outside world. And from what I hear, that would be the ultimate, that would be the greatest tragedy for the newest, youngest generation of Russia, because the older guys and gals, they grew up under communist rule and they lived through the wall coming down. But guys like me, who were literally just born a year after the damn thing went down, we were, Russia was a land of, brand new capitalism and Ninja Turtles and, horribly dubbed American cartoons and bubblegum and, the wondrous joys from the 80s and the early 90s. It was the prepackaged stuff that the Americans would just leave for us. or we would just incorporate. And this modern day Russians, though they still regain that still kind of fundamental what's the right word I'm looking for, conservatism. At least the younger ones, there is a large liberal / open, like most younger Russians. They know what computers are. They know what Skype is. They have communication with the outside world. And to take that away just because you want the world to fear you, I think is insanely and idiotically impractical. And, you mind if I talk about the gay issue, or am I talking too much?
Well, you did do a 10-minute segment on that the last time you were on.
Oh yeah, that's right. I hope I brought across what I wanted to say.
That's fine. Yeah, I mean, I think that the Putin, I think, likes he likes his Bond villain reputation, and I think he's purposely chosen a style of leadership that is pretty much modelled on that of Hitler. And yeah, he definitely wants to be feared, but it does involve a certain amount of showmanship.
Oh, definitely.
I don't think he's pressed a big red button insane.
Oh, no.
And now we have Fratis's point of view.
Yeah, I actually think you're a little bit wrong in the estimation of Putin. But to the subject in general, I think it's more complex a situation than we are giving it credit for.
Definitely.
I mean, Russia used to be an empire. Let's not forget that. Russia was one of the last big empires. I mean, I was already on the world for, 3 years before Russia the Soviet Union kind of fell together. And I'm not that old. So, it was one of Russia was one of the last great empires. The Ukraine, especially in a Russian perspective, holds special significance. I mean, one just has to look at Putin's, last 5 years, maybe 6 years of speeches. The Ukraine, and especially Kiev, often gets referred to as the birth of the Russian Empire, the birthplace. So it's very relevant to the Russian culture. And I think there was a study like 2/3 of Russians think Kiev is the birthplace of the Russian culture. So it is an important thing to Russia itself. Now, to get back to Putin is, I think, more interested in internal politics than external politics. He doesn't care what the West thinks of him. He knows he's not going to be chummy with most of the West anyway, and if he's going to be chummy, it's only going to be because of economics and not because they actually like him. And he understands that fully, and that's a situation that he's learned to deal with. What I think he's aiming for, like a lot of other dictators, is internal politics, which I think the West often lets them not see. I mean, Russia has basically two mainstream thoughts: the pro-European or pro-Western people and the old Soviet hawks, which Milan touched on a little bit. And I think some of this is to bring back the camp of the Soviet hawkishness back into the fold of his power grab. I mean, we've seen him as a brilliant politician before. I'd be very careful of seeing anything else till then. And gaining Crimea back obviously will cement his name in Russian history, at least.
Basically, what you're saying is that one day he will return with white hair and dragons.
Not quite, but yeah.
He is no Daenerys from Game of Thrones.
I know, but I just wanted to put that image in your brain, so now you will never leave. As you lay dying, you will see President Putin with beautiful white snow hair, half naked in a torn barbarian dress, surrounded by 3 dragons.
I mean, we've already seen him half naked, so we're almost there.
There we go, see?
Okay. Bun, any more thoughts?
I mean, I feel so, I feel like I'm fulfilling that stereotype of the uneducated American, because my opinion on this is so lacking. But basically, from what I can tell in terms of the, expansionism versus dick waving, it's just dick waving. Because, I think Milan had touched on this, you can easily buy back land. Like, if their goal was ultimately getting that land back, they would have bought it forever ago. I think a lot of it, I think it's kind of coincidental that it happens, like, right after the Olympics, especially when the whole world was kind of mocking Russia and being like, oh god, you're so primitive, you can't even open the fifth ring in your Olympics thing, and you don't support gays, and look at how primitive Russia is. So then Russia was like, fuck you. And that's kind of just how I see the whole situation with Ukraine and such. And, cause at the end of the day, like, they're just making things 10 times more complicated than they need to be. Like, don't they have other things to do?
Then we also have the thing. If you buy the land back, then you don't have the. Well, for me, it feels like Russia wants people to. The country wants people in the country and outside the former Russia want to love Russia. And if you buy the land, then it's don't like. This is wonderful for Russia because people name of the half island. Crimea. Really wants to be in Russia. At least it looked like that from the outside of the world. Outside, and that is a good thing for Russia and for Putin. It's like, yeah, there you see, they want to be in my country. So it's if you go in and buy it, then it's not the same thing. So, yeah.
Okay, Fartis, you were talking?
Yeah, I forgot my point again.
Oh,
I have something to say. Like, it might just be dick waving, it might be not. But if it is dick waving, you can just wave your dick in a guy's face for so long until somebody gets shot, you release some toxic gas into a crowd, a few hundred people die, and then that's when a world war starts. Because when little countries get attacked, this is what little countries do. They form treaties with larger guys, with larger countries who have their back. So if a war crime happens in, I don't know, like Ukraine, if it has, political ties and political treaties with, I don't know, America or, the UK or Germany or whatever, then those countries will be, legally obligated to come and help it out. And so, have all these little countries, like have Germany, like England, America coming in, and you have a giant world war. That's mainly, like, that's how these world wars get started. But unfortunately, well, I don't know. Like I hope to God Putin is just putting on a show. And I genuinely think that. But yes, if he does go over the line, that, like, dick waving will cause World War III. And I'm not a cynical man, but I'm not going to say, oh, if there is a world war, it'll be sorted out. We'll be finished with it by Christmas.
We will be finished by Christmas.
Yeah, and instead of snow, it'll just be, it'll be human ash falling from the sky, and our descendants will grow up with multiple eyes and tails and wings, or it will actually like. I hope to God it's not that. Putin, for the longest time before he started, hating gays and whatever, I kind of liked Putin because it was just so he tickled that irrational nationalistic bit in me. But now with this whole gay hating thing and like his borderline Hitler tactics of expansionism or dick waving or whatever the hell it is, I feel the same shame Americans felt in the early 2000s.
Aha, so you have been listening to London After Midnight discussing Russia. So, a good night from the Bun.
Good night.
And good night from Fratis.
Good night.
Good night from Milan.
Farewell.
And good night from Pinge.
Bye-bye.
Apparently Ping... Yeah, apparently he's a keyboard.
London Calling YouTube, London Calling everyone. And joining us once again in America we have The Bun. Oh, no, we don't, apparently.
Oh, yes we do. The bun just sucks at using a microphone.
And in Germany, we have Fratis.
Hello.
In Sydney, Australia, we have Milan.
The gibbering anus of the cosmos welcomes you with open arms.
Always good to know. And in Sweden, we have Pinge.
Okay, we have...
Okay. And tonight's topic is that there is, I don't know whether to report this as fact or speculation, but the idea that North Korea, may now be, or may be considering allowing some UK shows to be broadcast on their state-controlled television. These could include the Teletubbies, Top Gear, and Doctor Who. Now, to give some background to this, at the moment, what you're exposed to in North Korea is so controlled, and I suppose has to be so controlled, that people will bring in foreign television shows and films, even on penalty of death. You could literally say, I'll watch Doctor Who if it's the last thing I do, and it could be. It's difficult to sustain that kind of dictatorship and keep people believing what they're meant to believe. So they, perhaps that this concession could perhaps be the sign of their downfall. They're giving in a bit. We're going to have to let you watch. They may cut them. They may redub them. I would say Doctor Who is a strange choice because it's full of bad governments and dictatorships. It's got false gods and people who think they're gods. And it's got a huge emphasis, I think, on the individual. And I wonder what kind of, if they let this through, and some people say this will never happen, what kind of impact, assuming it's not cut completely to shreds or so redubbed it's not even still Doctor Who. But to give an example, but what are the implications of North Korea if they are going through with this, if they actually do? So, the Bun, your thoughts?
All I can think is, well, I mean, obviously, like, Top Gear and the Teletubbies, I don't think encourage rebellion. I could be absolutely wrong, though. I don't know what subliminal messages might be shoved into the Teletubbies. For all we know, there's satanic rituals in there. I mean, that vacuum pet thing is sketchy. But, I mean, like...
There are actual satanic rituals encoded into the Teletubbies. I have actual proof, because Satan told me.
You heard it here first, folks.
Yes, well, I need to have a conference with Satan then. But I think it's going to be very interesting, especially because, like, I know from my own personal research that, like, South Korea has this wall along the border where they actually have screens up and they're playing what's considered provocative, like, K-pop videos as a form of psychological warfare. And, it's kind of just really interesting to me that of all things, especially Doctor Who, is what they're allowing. I think it's clear proof that they really don't know what the hell they're blocking and allowing in their country, because they obviously have never watched it. I'm actually just curious to see, like, which actor's name they're going to be chanting as they have Kim Jong-un's head on a, like, spike. Or if they're all going to be dressed as Teletubbies doing it. Like, I'm really open to either one, and I'm very eager to see how it plays out. Either way, Teletubbies equals rebellion.
Imagine it. Just imagine it. What if, in a couple of years, like, what if Kim Jong-un knew that this was the reason that would lead to his eventual downfall? That if he restricted Doctor Who from his country, that people would have risen up. All the murder, all the starvation, that would have been nothing. But if you take people's Doctor Who away, they will rise up and destroy this horrifying regime.
That will definitely happen if they pull the plug just before the season finale. There will be blood in the streets.
Indeed. But imagine it. One second. It's just, I mean, it's just so like obviously they're gonna redub it, but just imagine what kind of series that like I can't believe this isn't a series already on the internet of just North Korean propaganda redubbed over old Doctor Who episodes.
Indeed, and I'm still trying to process the idea that the correct manner to summon Satan is But Fratis, your thoughts on this?
I think with Korea, what we've seen over the last couple of years, I mean, there was the story with the execution by dogs and stuff like that. We've seen a lot of very fake or very hard to prove stories, and there's been a lot of stories that you might want to believe, but don't seem likely. I would actually count this one to one of the stories that you might want to believe, but I just don't see as happening. Like you already mentioned in the opening segment, is we haven't seen the cuts yet. I mean, you can cut any show in a way or redub it in a way that makes it look pro whatever the hell you want it to look pro. I mean, for all we know, they're going to redub it and cut it in a way that the Doctor is a reincarnation of Kim Jong-il or something, running around trying to save us from the evil West or something. I don't know. And speaking of the choice, I don't know. Like I said, the cuts and stuff might be interesting. I just don't see it happening, to be honest. And I don't think the North Korean population is even aware of these kinds of shows. So I don't know. I mean, they don't even have telephones. I mean, even telephones are under death penalty. So right now, I just don't see any kind of implication that there will be a rebellion anytime soon. I don't see any kind of implication that there will be any of those kind of TV shows coming out there soon. But, you know, I could always be wrong.
And, Milan, do you have anything to add?
I just envision a population of North Koreans dressed in blood-stained Doctor Who cosplay, lynching King Jong-un above the streets, and he is dressed as a Dalek. I just want this to happen now. I've gotten to the point that I'm willing to incite rebellion in North Korea by just streaming or, shipping over, like, episodes of Doctor Who to the people.
Can I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
Would a cosplay coup be called Coosplay?
Bravo.
I've never heard a pun get applause before.
Well, there's a first time for everything.
Aha. And, Pingay.
I'm more scared about the Teletubbies. That's the baddest thing he can do. Because if we make Teletubbies and then the Korean people will look at Teletubbies, then they will rebellion. They don't want that shit on TV.
I just want to see King Jong-un just redub the entire series of Teletubbies himself.
What if instead of presenting the Teletubbies as a show for the under fives, they just try to present it as a natural, accurate depiction of life outside of North Korea?
I think the best thing is replace Doctor Who cosplay in Milan's scenario with Teletubby cosplay. Just a sea of Teletubbies. Every color you can imagine.
It's terrifying.
I foresee North Korean civil war between one side cosplaying as Daleks and the other side cosplaying as Teletubbies.
That's wonderful.
I literally just came with that image.
And on that bombshell, Milan. A good night from me, Alex, in London, and from the US, the Bun.
Good night, everybody. Be fearful of the elephant anus.
Of course, yes. And from Germany, Fratis.
Goodbye.
From Australia, Milan.
Blood will be spilt on felt of multiple colors.
And from Sweden, Pingay.
Good night. Teletubbies will conquer Korea.
This is surely true. Good night, Internet. Good night, everyone. London calling YouTube, London calling everyone. And once again, introducing our guests, The Bum.
Hello, everybody.
And Fratis.
Hello.
And Milan.
Today, the world bleeds from every orifice, and you love it.
I'm glad somebody noticed. And Pingay.
Hello.
Well, we have literally all just let me dig up the article now, a video that essentially, it's not even a music video, we've all kind of agreed it's a film short, a transgender love song called Transgender Woman Never Cheats, from Thailand, which has gone viral with 9 million views. And this, of course, is linked in the description, so if people out there haven't read anything about this, haven't seen this video, please, if you do play it, remember to click captions. But even without the captions, because the first time I saw it, I didn't think to do that. So you get the story without the words, I'd say. And I think this should be really a twofold question for everyone. Is one, what did you think of it? And two, does this powerful transgender love story going viral with 9 million views show how far we've come? So going alphabetically, The Bum.
Well, let me start by saying that it is, I think I have shed more tears during that than I did when I almost thought Daniel Bryan was going to die in WrestleMania this past weekend. So that's saying something.
Wow.
But yeah, I think I really liked it. I think that it was, I mean, I didn't really read through the translations of the actual lyrics, but from what I could tell, it was very respectful. You could tell from it that there was obviously research done, and they obviously did it in a way where they weren't trying to undermine or misinterpret trans women at all. I definitely wish we had Jen here, because I feel like her input would be really interesting. But I thought it was phenomenal. Again, I was a blubbering baby, and just the general layout of it, I think, was really interesting, especially because I didn't think it was gonna end well. I really thought that they were just gonna split up and it was gonna be terrible, but the fact that, I mean, one, it ended up being a happy ending, and two, that it was kind of this idea of the fact that they were in love, and it also transcended, like, gender boundaries. Like, it didn't matter whether his friend identified as a man or a woman, like, he still loved them no matter what. I thought that was really important and just overall really interesting. So, I mean, I dug it. I'm probably gonna watch it a million more times, and my mom's gonna keep crying and be like, what the hell is wrong with you? So, good stuff.
And Fratis, your input?
I think it was an interesting story and very, I'm going to call it very Asian, even if that sounds terribly wrong from me, being a German white male, but it was terribly Asian, or what I've seen of their TV shows and music videos. It told a very typically, I think, East Asian kind of story. They're very good at what they do. I mean, the production on the video looks solid, really well, and really well done. On the second question, I think it's an interesting question because, I mean, in East Asia, there's a different, I'm going to call it different acceptance for what they refer to as ladyboys, or what we over here classically refer to as transgender. I mean, they've been dealing with it in a different way.
Bun, you mind stop typing because we can hear the feedback.
But you can always mute if you're typing, Bum. Sorry, carry on, Fratis.
I mean, we've had they have a different kind of cultural discussion going on than we do, which is, you know, something different. I'm going to spoil the video a little bit. Bun's already done it a little bit. I'll spoiler it some more. There is violence against the female transgender. And I think this is still a very large problem that's not very visible till now, that a lot of transgender people still face a lot of violence in this world, especially even in Western countries, as Germany, America, England, wherever you tend to be. They still face a lot of violence and even rape and so forth, which was visible in this video. I think it's a very good video for visibility, not so much for progress. I mean, like I said, in those countries, it's already a very visible, culturally accepted thing to have them around.
Yeah.
And I mean, in the grand scheme of things, 9 million views isn't actually all that much.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Might be watched by another 9 million by what? I don't actually know if those 9 million are just Thai views or just East Asian views or. Well, we've seen it. We can make it. We can make it more viral. We can make it double viral ourselves. We've got 5 people here. Milan, your thoughts?
Already shared it on Twitter, but yes, it really does have a really East Asian-y film type of feel to it, but that's not a bad thing. I like this is not exactly having to do with the video, but it's kind of it really does have what I'm about to say. It's kind of an offshoot that I had about this video, an idea, or more of a fact. Anyway. Essentially, people who get quote-unquote duped by transgender people, they call it the trap. And this happens in this video clip. Well, the man he doesn't realize that this is a transgendered woman. And this tends to happen more than most men would admit. In real world, in Europe, America, all over the place. And if you happen to be a person who, if it feels good, do it. It's I understand there's that, but anyway, it's really sweet. I mean, at first I wasn't 100% sure what this was. I knew it had to do something with trans, but the way it started out, it wasn't all that clear. Basically, the short film, I'm going to call it a short film, is shot two interposing stories. One having to do with 2 young teenage boys, and in the other, a guy trying to pick up girls at a bar and getting blown off, and then this, one extraordinarily beautiful girl comes up to him, and they hit it off, and essentially they have a one-night stand, and they genuinely seem to have a connection. And the story is told almost without any dialogue. There is singing, but of course it's in another language. But really, even if there wasn't the singing, I personally didn't read the article. But watching this, watching this, I got the entire thing, the entire story, and it was really good, really excellently well done, and I think that's one of the reasons why it's become so popular. In which countries it's been seen, I can't be sure. Maybe we have to look at the YouTube statistics or whatever. But I think the majority, I hate to be the bad realist, but I think it's a positive thing. I think the majority of the views that came from the West really are one of those, you watch this video, bro, it's about this trans thing. It's totally gonna make you feel stuff. And people who are watching this aren't expecting, this really genuine, heartfelt experience. And, I think the majority of the West's views of this video came from that kind of mentality. And I hope, those, people who, the frat boys, watching this for the creepy, trans stuff, will kind of get their minds a little changed, watching this, really genuinely heartfelt story. I can just imagine it now, a couple of frat boys, wiping away tears, going damn, man,
I think from reading, I think it helped that I read the article first. I think the tattoos is meant to be an indication it's the same people grown up. So the 2 quote-unquote boys, So you did know that. Sorry, just checking. Another thing is, because a couple of things you said made me think, because when I was a teenager, I saw The Crying Game, which I was too young to see, but I saw it anyway. And although I don't even class The Crying Game as a quote-unquote trans film, although it technically is, I actually think it's like one of my top 10 favourite love stories. And I think seeing it as a teenager, and anyone out there who hasn't seen it, it's even on YouTube, so I'm going to link the whole film in the description, The Crying Game. It's absolutely brilliant, and just as a film, but also I would say, if I hadn't seen it as a teenager, I don't think I would have been so understanding and therefore so accepting. I think it was my first kind of exposure to the very concept of a trans woman or a trans person.
Yeah, I mean, art really does help people. If you see it, then that's just one step to accepting it. I mean,
yeah. I mean, what actually does happen, that's not too spoilery, is that a man does fall in love with a pre-op transgender woman without realizing. In other words, he falls in love with somebody who has a penis, and he doesn't know when he falls in love with her. And I think it kind of shows that anyone can fall in love with anyone. But yeah, some people would call that being quote-unquote trapped. But look at it, it's a love story, and very powerful. And actually, that was made like 20 years ago, and is definitely better than certain efforts made by recent people, but we're not going to drag up the Jared Leto thing again. Yes, Pinge, your thoughts?
First of all, it was a great video or a love story song, whatever. It's wonderful done. It really is a love story. It's not nothing. It does seem to have a purpose more than actually showing a love story, which I like. And I think it can have actually have an impact. I talked about the other movie. It's like it can have an impact because it's short. It really shows the love story, and it shows that it's not an odd thing. It's just what it is. So I really love the thing, and actually a bit I like Thai music. So for me, it's like yeah.
Oh, okay.
So there was a double thing, and also I have never understood this trap thing, because if I like a person, I like the person, and who gives a whatever. It's like, so for me the trap thing is it's so odd. So I think that it's a good film, and I think many people should see it because it can make a difference. I think, because I think music and a good made movie can make a difference. But in the long run, people begin to think maybe it is not wrong. And again, what I talked about, of course it is an Asian movie, and of course it is a Thai thing, because the transgender people are more visible in Thailand. But sadly, they are not that well treated as we hope that they should be, even in Thailand. It's like they are visible and they are there and people know about them, but they still are not that good treated, even in Thailand, and even worse in India, sadly. So it's a double thing, but if the video wants to do something, and that I like.
Aha. Well, if you've heard of this film, as we're calling it here first, people, it's linked in the description. You may have difficulty playing it in Germany, but apart from that, hey, watch it, and if you like it, share it, etc. And so, if we could have a quick good night from Bun. Bun?
Oh, sorry. Again, the Bun cannot use a mic. Good night.
And Fratis?
Good night.
And Milan?
Farewell.
Okay, and Pinge?
Good night in Swedish. Good night.
Aha. Good night, Internet. Good night, everyone. London calling, YouTube. London calling, everyone. And once again, please welcome our guests, The Bun.
Hello, everybody.
And Fratis.
Good evening.
And Milan.
Screams. screams and then silence.
I agree. And Pingay?
Hey, like Swedish, hello.
You have a very fun name to say. Pingay.
Finger.
You should be a magician. Like the wondrous, the marvelous Pingay.
It sounds like a racial slur against penguins or something. It's like a homophobic slur against penguins.
What?
No Pingay, man. No Pingay.
Well, we have it here first, folks. Pingay music is a gay penguin.
No. It's like, this is what, like, stray penguins yell at that one, overly feminine penguin. Hey, Pingay! That's the way you say it, Alex. You should be ashamed of yourself, you bastard.
My hate speech against the gay penguins, I shall be. Yes. Right. In any case, I don't think that gay penguins would stick with just the black and white look. I think maybe those ones with the bright blue feet. But anyway, stereotyping LGBTQ people, even though I am one. Right. So, anyway, if listeners who can remember back a few weeks on our Oscars special, we may not have been terribly nice about an actor by the name of Jared Leto. I'm scared to say his name in case I might summon him. And basically, his defense of his portrayal, for want of a better term, of a transgender woman in what some people might call a film, Dallas blah blah blah, basically say that him, a cisgendered man, playing a trans person opens up the gates for it to go the other way, and broaden the horizons of trans actors. Even though the director of Dallas blah blah blah, when asked why didn't you hire a trans actor to play a trans character, said, "Oh, are there any?" Apparently unaware that there's such a thing called Google, and he might have had to spend a whole minute of his life finding out if there are trans actors. It's been pointed out in an article linked in the description that this defense, although it has an internal logic, doesn't really work in the full social context for reasons that should be pretty obvious. In any case, I've waffled on for 3 minutes, so alphabetical again, I will hand you guys over to the bum.
Oh boy, this bastard. Alright.
This is gonna be
let's
good.
Just admit that there's some problems here, and let's address them. The biggest one, issues of sexuality and issues of gender are two very different things. Despite the fact that the initialism LGBTQIAP includes intersex and transgender titles, that does not mean the two issues can be equated to being equals. They just can't. It doesn't work. Think of it this way. A homosexual person will never experience gender dysphoria. They will never look in the mirror and wonder what in the world they identify as in the scheme of their sexual preference. Not only this, but it's much easier for a gay person to pass as straight. They could easily just keep their sexuality to themselves and not have to deal with judgment and hatred from society. A trans person, not happening. Especially not a trans woman. Because of the sexism in society, trans women not only have to face transphobia, but also trans misogyny, because, it's obviously just downright sinful to, quote-unquote, give up your manhood. The fact of the matter is that no matter what, Jared Leto is never going to understand what a trans woman goes through, and neither is the drag queen Rayon character that he plays, because at the end of the day, Jared is a straight, cisgender man, and a drag queen can easily take off her makeup, ditch the wig, and go from Sharon to Steven all over again, and male pronouns go back to their regular usage, and they, at the end of the day, still have cis privilege. So no, it's not the same. Having straight people play gay characters and vice versa is not the same as a trans woman being played by a cisgender man. Because the transgender woman is not a man. She's not male. She is female. And she may or may not have a penis. And also, there are so many people who get undermined in the acting business. We have black women and Asian women being cast as stereotypical roles as the sassy black friend and the math geek,
And we have characters like Katniss, who's meant to be olive-skinned and is played by a white woman. Hollywood is the most discriminatory thing on the planet, and expecting trans women to take yet another back seat is disgusting and gives into trans invisibility as well as cis and heteronormativity that litters the media. So here's an idea. Let's cast trans women for everything. Everything. Black Widow, trans woman. Wonder Woman, trans woman. Nicki Minaj biographical film, trans woman. I need trans women everywhere. I need Laverne Cox sitting on a throne of the corpses of cisgender directors who have excluded trans women while sipping the blood of Jared Leto from a sacred goblet as she pets her pet dragon.
Woo! Aha. And I will also comment on this article and the fact that they managed to use the correct pronouns, something which the script, if the film even had one, completely failed to do. And last time we spoke, we made the comparison of this is more like if Jared Leto had put boot polish on his face to appear in 12 Years a Slave and won an Oscar for his moving portrayal of a black person. And I will say, speaking as, if we were going by the Kinsey test, or Kinsey, what's it called, the Kinsey scale, by Kinsey logic, which unfortunately still influences people, because I'm a bisexual man, I'm halfway to being a woman. And this is why people to this day want to go back in time and kill Kinsey. I will also say, I understand gender expression because I'm a bit of a drag queen myself. I have an alter ego, another character, an extension of myself, and gender expression is where I would place drag queen. Don't know if that comes under genderqueer or not, but gender expression, gender identity, sexuality, not, and also you will meet bisexuals who never cross-dress. And now, Fratis, I understand that you want to defend this quote-unquote film and Jared Leto.
I actually think quote-unquote film is quite an insult for the form of art and what it was actually talking about. It was talking about a real problem that really existed for a very, very long time in America, still exists to this very day, and is highly underrepresented in the States. A problem that is very current in politics. Just look at the TIPP treaties, which actually has, like, the whole treaty is about this subject pretty much. Last year there was 75,000 people who died from medication taken from other countries into the Americas illegally. So very, very current movie. AIDS is still a huge problem. There was just the yearly AIDS charity event run by DevShell 2. Which ran up to a couple of $1,000 again.
8,000 this year.
I didn't pay too much attention. I was very busy that weekend.
Okay.
But yeah, I know he ran a couple of $1,000, and he's raised awareness a lot. So it's a very current movie with a very important topic. So calling it a quote unquote movie or saying it's whatever is, I think, a little bit insulting. And then we get into the whole Jared Leto situation. I mean, I'm just going to say it this way. If transgender woman can't be played by a man, does that mean all the movies, I mean, Alex will know some of these, all the old movies where men play women are also not okay? Would you all class that under that too? What was saying down that logic, can I feel offended when a gay man plays a straight man in a movie picking up women? Do I get that too, or is my cis white privilege in the way of that?
Well, I think the second part of that's the false equivalency.
I know it's a false equivalency. I'm just trying to point out that the logic of the way it's represented in media representation of the LGBTQ movement, and the movement name says it itself, lumps these subjects together. So in the broad collective consciousness of the few people who actually even know about the subject, let's not assume that everybody in America even gives a shit, because they don't. I mean, that's already a step forwards. He knows the movement exists. Go to Washington and go talk to Congress about that and see how funny that is. Because I'm going to bet you at least 80% of the old white men, by the way, worse than Hollywood, don't even know the thing LGBTQ, they'd probably look at you very confused and ask you what drugs you're taking. If they don't send you straight to a priest to, repair you. So let's not go down that way. And I mean, it's acting, understanding a character. I mean, does a guy who plays a murderer have to understand how a murderer thinks? Because if he can, I would like to send him to the next psychological institute to go and help people there. Because mass murder is actually a very complex topic. Or, I don't know, if he plays a pedophile, does he need to understand how a pedophile thinks and feels exactly?
I'm going to say it does, as Milan says, it does help, but it's part of method acting. And yes, I think even if you're playing Hitler, I think when Bruno Ganz was playing Hitler in Downfall, when he was acting, he thought as Hitler thought, he believed what Hitler believed, and he would justify it to himself to be completely in character, and actors manage it. Admittedly, the first ever actor to play Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde on stage was questioned by police in relation to the Jack the Ripper inquiry. Questioned, but he didn't do it. I don't think it's ever actually... and actually all sorts of people get into the minds of killers and paedophiles.
Yeah, but the question
is
why can't a man get into the thoughts of a transgendered woman? That's my question at that point.
Well,
I mean,
it's not the fact that it's a bad thing. It's just it's not the problem with a straight man try to act like a to act like a not exactly binary woman. It's that he did it shittily.
He did it well enough to get a bloody Oscar
and it was
for
also the script itself was very offensive. They didn't keep to the pronouns. They represented a character that was supposed to be a trans woman as a drag queen, which right there is a red flag because those are two very different things.
The thing is, he did it well enough to win an Oscar and a dozen other awards. And, I mean, you can think whatever you want about the awards ceremonies or the people voting for them, but he won one. Artistically, you can think whatever you want. I will disagree with you vehemently.
If I could... Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, one of the articles, which I know that you haven't seen, compared this with Manny, the portrayal of a black character in the film Gone with the Wind, and how progressive that looked at the time, and how embarrassing it is when you look back, and basically saying people will look back at the portrayal of a trans character in Dallas Buyers Club and think, oh my god, people once thought this was a good thing.
I don't know that. I mean, I think that's for posterity to decide, not us. I mean, yes, I'm of a different opinion than most people here, and I'm fully aware of that. But I don't think it's as terrible as you portray it. I think there's been a lot worse.
Like, I understand where you're coming from the perspective of it actually covering a really recent social issue. And I think that, yeah, that's really important, and we need to be covering that more because it's something that isn't talked about much. And I wish that it was. So I agree with you. It was important in that aspect. But, like, I mean, it's just, you can still like something and still understand the problematic aspects of it. And, like, for example, I'll watch Supernatural, but I still understand that it's sexist and is filled with white cisgender man pain. But it's, like, at the end of the day, I think that saying that it's not offensive, maybe to somebody who is cisgender, no, it's not gonna be. Especially if you don't have a lot of experience with transgender women and don't understand them to a T. But the fact of the matter is there are actual trans women that have talked about this, and they've been extremely offended. And by saying, oh, well, this movie isn't offensive, that's really just invalidating everything they said as people whom that role was supposed to represent.
Milan, you want to respond?
Hello? Yeah, we're ready to go?
We are recording, yes.
Okay. You see, the problem is, like, I know what you're trying to say, but imagine if, Bun brought up the, Gone with the Wind. I mean, imagine, like, back then, black folk weren't really, admitted to exist. And any sort of black man depicted on film was a white guy with, black shoe polish. And, you see a black fella in the movies? Golly wowzers, this is so progressive. But how do they act? They act essentially exactly like the minstrel show. The only change is that they're actual black people acting like how the white men portray them while they have fucking, shoe polish.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, and the Oscars, that whole, they won an Oscar, thus, it negates all your opinions. Like, it's like the Oscars, partly it's mostly just a bunch. I'm going to be crude here and say it's a giant circle jerk of profound Hollywood liberals saying how great we are, oh how wonderful and progressive we are, oh yeah, let me, it's just a bunch of that, and some movies deserve those Oscars, others don't. It's really just a giant show and a shill. But you can't just ignore the genuine grievances an actual, trans woman has with the material and the real actual problems that the film has. And, yeah, it could have been done better. I'm sure you like the film. I'm sure it brings up some really genuine, really important topics. But that's the thing. The main focus, the main heart of this film, and the main topic it's supposed to be talking about, and mainly focused around, is a transgendered woman. And if that one thing, if this core of the film doesn't work or portrayed in a way that is offensive, then its whole message, it's a trans woman, it falls to pieces. And I understand what you're trying to say, like, if a straight guy can't play a, cis, transgender woman, but I'm sure a straight guy can pull that off, but a good actor, but, that's the thing. He didn't do it properly.
Yeah.
He wasn't, I'm nearly done.
Yeah.
I'm nearly done.
Okay.
He wasn't playing a transgendered woman. He was just playing, like, hey, mommy, I'm gonna eat me some watermelon.
Okay, Fartis, your response.
Okay, 3 questions. 1, would the movie be better if you used the same script and a transgendered woman would play Rayon? I don't think so. It's still the same bloody script. Most actors. Let me finish, please. Most actors don't get a big say on the script. It's eat it or die. Eat it or don't have a job. We don't fucking care. There's 10 people waiting outside for your job. And it is like that in Hollywood. Let's not even discuss that, because there is 10 people waiting outside wanting to be in a movie. Question 2 is, was the movie really about a transgender person, or was it about getting medication and the economics behind that medication? That's my question, because I thought it was actually more about the whole subject.
Well,
and then there was a second subplot with, the transgender story.
Well, I would actually answer that question by saying that's part of the problem, because apart from the fact that the guy really, I don't think, came across that well. He came across as a black marketeer, as a very cynical profiteer, and I would also point out this was supposed to be an HIV and AIDS film that made the lead character straight when, if it were really based on the real story, he would have been bi, and then marginalised and stereotyped the LGBT community by embodying the all-in-one made-up character. So the fact that indeed Rayon isn't the main character and is made up. Your other point, well, I would like to think that a trans actor would have thrown the script in the face of the dickhead who wrote it. But my main points would be, surely a film about HIV and AIDS issues, especially in the 80s, that failed that hard in its representation of the LGBT community has completely failed, because how do you do that important element of the whole story that badly?
Once again, I'm going to have to correct you. There was plenty of actually purely straight patients within the 80s. I mean, yes, it was an illness that was mainly within the gay community, but there was actually quite a few, about 5 to 10% of the people were actually straight. This is well known.
Who was blamed?
These were mainly people who were traveling a lot and are actually part of the problem. The situation with AIDS is a very complex topic. And I don't think saying it was only gay people in the 80s.
I didn't say that.
I know you didn't say that. I'm just saying people do say this. It was only gay people in the 80s. Doesn't help.
Indeed, that's a stigma. But the fact that stigma existed is part of my problem. Whether it's a gay disease, men made it together, or it's those bisexuals getting it from men and then going home to their wives, they caused the problem. That's stigma, and stigma is a big part of the HIV and AIDS story. I think I certainly would be the last person to say it's a gay disease.
But then your argument falls apart that the main character has to be at least bisexual.
Well, no, he was in real life.
Yes, he was in real life.
But then why? But okay, that's a very significant part of it, and also considering that heteronormativity is very common in the media, to rewrite a character that was bisexual and would be arguably inspiring for other bisexual people and actually give them representation is pretty shitty.
Sexual
I'm just going to say mass appeal.
Sexual whitewashing.
Yeah, mass appeal. Once again.
If you've got to whitewash a story that much, what integrity do you have in saying this quote unquote true story?
Mass appeal. Like, that's the thing. I mean, if you're gonna make a movie about a topic that has to do with these people, why? I mean, what do you mean, Matt? What mass mark? What? I don't understand you. If you're gonna make a movie about the topic,
at the end of the day, no matter what topic you want to do as an artist, I'm going to say artists in general because it's not just things. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to compromise. I mean, few artists get through with 100% their vision. It just doesn't work that way usually, unless you're a very established artist or have buns of steel.
But even in the terms of compromise, nobody was asking for that compromise. It's just downright bigotry, and I'll even let Jared Leto go on this one. But from the guy who directed it, saying that there's no trans actors is completely contributing to trans invisibility, and then on top of that making a poorly depicted trans character is still shitty.
Yeah, can I just quickly leap in there and say if he claimed he didn't even know there were trans actors, that means he didn't even audition them and then say, as it happened, I thought this cisgendered person happened to be the best actor, but he never even held auditions that included trans actors.
But look, I'm gonna say this. I'm sure I understand what you're coming through. I'm sure this director had the best of intentions, but what we're trying to say is that he came at it from a place of extraordinary ignorance, and like I'm sure there's really great parts. I'm sure this film has nice parts, seen from your perspective, but for it. You got to admit it was handled. It's not a perfect film by any stretch of the imagination. And saying that mass appeal, no one was actually asking for this film. I mean, well, of course, the transgender community, but in the larger scale. No, there wasn't a slew of white, straight, men and women going, I demand a soul-wrenching tale about the struggle of...
That's not...
Okay, Milan, I think Pingay's been waiting for 10 minutes for us to get to him. Pingay, your opinion on this issue.
I was just listening, and that's the whole thing with the movie. It's like, first of all, it's like, if you have a trans person, I actually don't think that person have to be portrayed by a trans person at all. But that if it is not a trans person, then the straight person actually have to be like do the role so good that the trans persons actually think, yeah, that he portrays us in a good light and in a good way. That is the main thing, because acting is acting. You actually don't. If you do a movie about dancers, you don't actually have to dance, because if you can portray the dance good, so people think that you are the best dancer in the world, then you are a good actor. But in this movie, it actually seems like, no, he didn't. So that's the wrong person for the wrong. Yeah, it was the wrong person. And also when we talk about mass thinking, no one wanted this movie. Actually, if you're going to sell in a film in Hollywood, you have a problem. Okay, I want a trans movie with trans people, blah blah. And then you go to the film companies and they just want to, and you want a trans person in some leading roles, or no, we can't do that. And then you say, but we can make another actor that are famous and so on. And then, okay, then we might do it. So it's like a big compromise, and that's what we get, sadly.
Exactly. That's exactly what we get. I mean, when you go, like, even if you want to produce something else, like, let's say, a comic or music or something, you go to a company and you have to pick what's called a pitch meeting, which means you pitch your idea to the company, and they then go, we like it, or if you change this and this, we will take it, and usually it is the second.
But then we come to But Ban, the thing, Ban, you have that's the thing with this movie. The trans community and everybody else that actually think they can use this movie to actually say this is wrong because of that, not because he was the baddest actor in the world and he was not a trans person, but because he portrayed the trans community bad. And that's the most important. So you can also always use this movie, and so that is the most important thing, not actually if the movie was good or bad, because Hollywood always will do bad movies. So this conversation is wonderful, because now you have a chance to actually say something good about a bad movie and come forward with something that actually are interesting and actually are true.
I'd also like to throw out there, in the last show I made mention of the film The Crying Game, which is from, I think, 1992.
Yeah.
And the very fact, because that was a trans woman character who wasn't stereotypical and also wasn't the victim of the film. She owned her situation. She was kind of a kick-ass character. And I know that was basically a British indie film that ended up getting noticed.
Yeah.
But at the same time, 22 years... hang on. Sorry, I can't do maths. However many years have gone by since then. And you would have thought, couldn't they take a nod? Couldn't they check that actually trans people have already been represented better than this?
Yeah, true. True. Sadly true. But
well, I think that we got a hell of a lot of heated discussion out of that one. So, good night from Bun.
Good night.
Good night from Fratis.
Good night.
And Milan.
Sorry I talk too much.
Don't worry. I think we all do. Apart from Pingay. But no, we're here from Pingay now. Good night from Pingay.
Good night.
Good night, Internet. Good night, everyone. London calling YouTube. London calling everyone. And now, for the third week running, I would like to discuss, surprise, surprise, an issue to do with same-sex marriage in England and Wales and the UK generally. And I would be introducing people, but I'm actually stalling because the bun is bubbling. Damn, we lost the bun. I'm not getting a red box, so I don't know what the problem is.
It's the Irish.
What? No, all Skype problems are caused by Obama. Everyone knows that.
Oh, no, it's the Irish. It's them their, Skype,
isn't
jamming
it the white
technology.
cisgendered Seattle people?
Yeah, but Obama is all of those things.
Of course he is.
And he's a fucking Jew.
Obviously.
Don't forget, he's a Muslim communist too.
And a Nazi. Can you believe it? A Nazi in the White House. God.
He's a Nazi Jew.
The worst kind of Jew.
Actually, there are Nazi Jews in Israel. There was like a weird group of teenagers that would be really funny to be Jewish Nazis living in Israel. Oh, let's reactivate the Nazi party in Israel, even though we're Jewish. Aren't we cool?
Actually, a very, 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 very immature and quasi-retarded bit of my brain thinks that's kind of vaguely but not really funny.
I think it's the ultimate teenage rebellion.
Mm-hmm. He takes balls. I mean, like, your nana died slowly in a prison camp. I'm gonna wear a swastika, yo, because I'm hip.
But wouldn't the logical thing be to exterminate yourself? So it'd be a very short-lived reactivation.
I suppose so.
Yeah. Right. Now we're just completely off topic because the bun didn't pick up. We're recording this nothingness that I don't... Is what we're saying even broadcastable? Is this...
It's not.
We can put this as the bloopers at the end of the episode.
Bun!
Isn't that like the brain trust is here and talking about you Nazi Jews? Yay!
Nazi Jews, I love you. You know, you just stole my heart. Sorry, Alex.
Okay.
Aren't you gonna fight for me? Jesus Christ! You know.
We can be
Are you gonna
polyamorous.
let this?
Yeah, we can have a threesome. It's okay.
Being on London After Midnight, you need to check the small print because you are all my husbands and wives.
Oh, it's like a big happy family. Yay!
It's part of the contract.
Polyamory is all well and good, but you don't get those epic, fencing scenes. If a man takes me, there's no, romantic fighting for my love. What's the?
But the thing, we have to have a meeting in London After Midnight because we have to have the biggest wedding in the lifetime.
Oh God, we're supposed to be discussing same-sex marriage in the Anglican Church, instead we're talking about me fighting off. I don't even know what am I fighting off Pingay for coming onto Milan, or am I fighting off Milan for coming onto Pingay?
No.
Bartis is keeping quiet, wondering what the fuck is going on. And I'd fuck all of you. I just need a bigger bed.
Okay, next topic.
Yeah. As I always say about this show, something goes wrong every time I do it, but there's never the same problem twice. Oh, Bun never got the call. Okay, can I just say, right, if I hang up and call back, are people okay with the past 5 minutes ever being uploaded?
No, they are not okay.
I'm okay.
Okay, this is...
No.
Well, under UK law, I need the permission of everybody for any form of distribution. So if Ratis says he's not okay with it, then we have the Bun! Oh. Hello, Bun!
Hello!
Right.
Hello!
Okay. Note to self. The previous 5 minutes and 20 seconds must never be heard by anyone.
Go ahead. I don't mind. I'm joking.
I actually don't care either. It's like...
The things
What?
The things that we said, if ever recorded back to us, will tear a hole in the time-space continuum, bringing back the worst of humanity to pester the modern day.
What in the world did you guys record?
we chanted Cthulhu for like a solid 5 minutes.
Oh yeah, we were all like fucking wanking and cutting the throats of goats. It was some real dark occult shit.
Wow, so that... Aw, I'm sad I missed it.
Oh, you did. It was awesome. We all got ice cream, flavored with the blood of small infants. It was amazing.
Okay, as this is the last show of the week, I'll just introduce you all, going alphabetically. If you could each just shout Dragon Sex at the top of your voice. So, the Bun.
Dragon sex!
Fratis.
Dragon sex?
Milan.
Dragon sex.
La la. Pingay.
Oh, dragon. Haha. Sex.
Oh, I'd say it's between Bun and Pingay. They were all good. They were all good. So we've established we're already halfway through this taping session, and we've said absolutely nothing of any substance or value. Okay, right. So Anglican marriage. So the current Archbishop of Canterbury, whose name I can't be bothered to remember. To explain, okay, background. We have a state church in the UK, which and we're a theocracy, so it's all intertwined in a way that it shouldn't be. And so we have same-sex marriage in English and Welsh law, as we already did in Scottish law, but the Anglican Church, or the C of E, Church of England, doesn't recognise it within its canon law. The Archbishop of Canterbury's position, which he's made clear on radio, is what we say here will be heard by the world. And he's basically worried that if Christians look pro-gay, it will lead to anti-Christian violence in certain African nations where there is already a lot of anti-gay shit going on. My personal opinion is the Anglican Church doesn't have to endorse same-sex marriage. They can leave it up to the conscience of individual vicars. And if the issue is that because it's non-canonical as a ceremony, you can't do it in a state-funded, or at least partially state-funded church, why not have vicars who are willing just perform the ceremony in their own homes or just somewhere other than the church? Whose business is that? So I don't see that there necessarily have to be any harm. I would say compromise people. Bun, I realise in the US you come at this from a very different social, political, and probably thinking what the fuck right now, but do you have any opinions on this?
I just think that it's a little ridiculous considering, there's been blatant support from the freaking Pope for both, atheists and gay people, and it's just hey there, friend, you feeling okay? You in touch with the rest of the world, or does the church collectively live under a rock? I don't really know what goes on over there. The only knowledge I have of England is basically just colonized America, Mr. Bean, Sherlock, Doctor Who, and gay marriage. That's about it. So, I don't know. I don't have too much of a stance.
That is basically all you need to know about us. Okay, Fratis, your opinion.
Yeah, how to follow up on that? I think, generally speaking, marriage is an outdated institution anyway. I mean, marriage as a word has multiple thousand years of baggage and historical debate on it. I think as a state or a modern state, we should just get rid of or separate marriage from legal partnership, which are two very separate things. And I mean that for everybody, not just the homosexual community. I mean that literally for heterosexual people marrying too. Just completely separate it, creating two completely distinct entities, while marriage no longer being a legal term, and just kicking it out of the bag of law. This would first of all solve the problem with the whole, gay marriage in quotation marks. At that point, it's up to the church what they want to do with marriage. They can do whatever the hell they want. and we can do with legal partnership whatever the hell we want. Creating a more progressive and more open system, allowing maybe for new more progressive ideas to infiltrate those kinds of laws, or accepting them into legal law, and not having to listen to 27 archbishops circle jerk about how English morals are going to hell. And on the topic of this being heard internationally, as far as I know, the Church of England is true to its name, only represented by England. Maybe South Africa or something has a bit of Church of England, but
there's some Anglicans in America.
Yeah, but there's not many of them. The small community of Anglicans outside of England are small.
Yeah.
And, so it being heard internationally, I don't think so. I don't think if the British Church or the Anglican Church tomorrow decided that all forms of marriage, including animal marriage, would be okay, that anyone outside of England would really care. Especially because the Africans think we're weird, liberal, want to do whatever the hell we want people anyway. I mean, just look at their picture of Western women. That explains it all.
Yes. I'll just say, probably as the only ex-Anglican in the room, I've gone in my adult life from being a queer Anglican to just queer. So by the time this was on the cards, I didn't really care anymore. But I kind of have a respect for the desire by British gay Anglicans to be married in the eyes of God when they obviously don't believe in a God who hates fags. And I kind of think that with the kind of, on the ground level, the kind of Anglicanism that we have, at least in the Greater London Home Counties area, that no one's really going to be bothered by this. It's just a sort of hierarchy. As for marriage being, I will agree on a personal level. I just think, what's the point? I have no desire to marry anybody of either sex. Milan, do you have an opinion?
I do. For one, like, I completely understand your whole idea. I completely agree with your sentiment of just like individual preachers should have the right to marry Anglican homosexuals. If they want to do it outside of the church, that's fine. But this whole idea of banning marriage indefinitely and just replacing it like with this, like I understand this whole marriage and religion have been in bed together for a long, long time. But I'm sure the majority real, factual reason, like I'm sure the tradition comes into it, but the real factual reason why most people get married is because of the benefits that come with the law, and the, like married tax not evasion, but hikes. You know what I'm talking about. All the benefits of married people have, and just getting rid of marriage indefinitely, and kind of try. That's a problem all on its own. But trying to separate the two completely, like all us secular folk will have this, kind of washed out, in antiseptic version of a partnership. While all the Christians and the whatever religious folk can have the marriage, but their marriage won't be recognized by the state, it's just kind of silly. Essentially, religious people want to have the luxury of the bombast and the tradition of marriage, while the secular folk want the legal benefits. But essentially, everyone wants the legal benefits, and just separating marriage from the legal aspect of marriage is a silly idea, I think. It's like everyone wants to have a marriage. If you're completely secular and you just want the benefits, you can do that. Or if you just want a marriage just normal wise, but also keep the benefits, you have that. So I completely agree with Alex. We can have our cake and eat it too. We cannot force preachers to perform a ceremony they don't feel comfortable with. And yes, I understand they're state funded, but religious freedom and all that. But if you have preachers who are willing to marry a gay Anglican couple outside of the church walls, then well, that's up to them, and thus you have the whole bonus of the ceremony for those who want it, and the extra benefits of the legal part of marriage. So yeah, I hope I came across semi-cohesive.
Yep,
absolutely. And Pingay, your thoughts?
Yeah. First of all, actually, when the Church of England say no to marriage, they cannot do that because they are state-funded. They are actually as long as they are state-funded and actually are the religion of the state, they actually cannot say no. For me, as I think. But then we come to other things with marriage, and if church can say no, yes, they can say whatever they would like, because if they are free from the state, they can actually do whatever they like. Even if I don't like what they do, but they can. But if they are connected to the state, they cannot. It's the law say that you have to marry people, and you are a state church, then you actually just have to marry people and shut the fuck up. Oops. But and also this with the legal thing, I think if marriage is both a legal thing and actually now I'm being cheesy, but a love thing, and it's so much more. It's like if you marry one, you do it for not only the legal thing. So the church thing is important for many people. So I don't see why it should have the same rights, whatever we do, even if you do it state, even church, and whatever, as long as there is a marriage right. Why change name? Because it is what it is. But it should be for everyone. Marriage is not a woman-man thing. Marriage is a love thing. We do marry people because we love them. And yeah, that's my sense of this.
Aha. Okay. Well, thank you for your views, and I will say we've lost the bun again. I don't know if they're coming back. One thing to touch upon here is Fratis and Pingay, who live in Germany and Sweden respectively. You kind of like you have the option to opt out of funding your church. Now, is that like a sort of hassle and you'd like to see it changed? Or do you not think it's a particularly big deal?
In Germany, it's actually a pretty simple thing. You write a letter to your council or whoever's in charge, say, I don't want to be in the church anymore. Write a letter to the church saying, I don't want to be in the church anymore. You get a letter back from both, and they say, okay. And the priest probably says, or the pastor or whatever he is, I'm sorry to hear that. You know, do you want to talk about why you left the church? You don't even have to reply to that, and you're done.
Ah, okay.
Same in Sweden. It's not that hard. I'm still in the church, not because I'm religious, I'm a Christian, but because the fact is that we have many churches in Sweden, and actually the tax paying is also for the buildings and for the church and the history thing about it. So I'm more like, if they don't have the money, well, then every church in Sweden will be not repaired and so on. It's a more historical interest thing.
Aha. And you said you have a state church, but they're not. It's like you have a state church, but the state and the church are not connected.
Yeah, it's Sweden is a Christian country. That's a thing. So we have a state church, but we have separated the state and the church, and we can opt out of paying the taxes.
Yeah.
But before, I don't remember when it was done, but before that, church tax was not optional. It was always for everyone.
But aren't Scandinavian countries generally, in terms of the actual population, some of the most secular? You say Christian country, but what proportion of Sweden is actually Christian? Would actually identify as Christian?
I don't actually know how many. The thing is, as I said in some other shows or whatever, is like if we are going to bar and then we talk about, okay, you're a Buddhist, okay, you're a Christian, okay, cool, cheers. It's like it's more a personal thing than having to do with what kind of party we look at or what. So it's a personal religion more than something else. So we can actually sit down and actually talk about our beliefs, and we say, okay, I don't disagree, but of course we have fun this here too, but not that many, and it's more a personal religion thing only.
Mm. Ah, okay. Right. Well, do the remaining panelists have any closing thoughts on the subject?
Yeah, I'd like to give at least a brief reply to what Milan said and then what brought up. I mean, I'm not an English person, so it's a little bit hard for me to argue in an English perspective. So I can only argue from my own perspective or the perspective of legal stuff I've learned. And English common law is, well, the last 100 years are a bit of a blur for me.
Why, were you drunk the whole time?
No, but I haven't learned much of that and only, like, key points. But at least in outside of
it's
England...
fine. Not many British lawyers have either.
At least outside of England, I want to bring up what Thomas Jefferson said, is that there is a separation of church and state, or an indivisible wall, as he so stated. And I think this is the key point to why I brought up the argument I brought up, that if that indivisible wall has to exist between church and state, then you can't have something so interconnected with the church and such a church thing, I think, and it is a church. It's such a key point. Like I said, I think a civil union, which has existed in most countries and still exists in most countries. I mean, how long has it been since England has got rid of the civil union and called it marriage now for homosexual couples?
We've had same-sex marriage 2 weeks, yeah.
2 weeks, so there you go. You've only got rid of the term civil union for 2 weeks. In Germany, it still exists. In most of Europe, it actually still exists. So, or at least you get something like a civil partnership in Denmark and
yeah.
So, you know, it's a legal term that already exists. I just want to give it bigger standpoint.
I don't know if you saw, because we discussed this on last week's show, or a week ago on the show before this new format, that the EU does want to make same-sex marriage recognised. Oh, yes, you did see it, because you commented.
Yes. I commented on it, and I commented on it that it would be a game changer, because with it, in a step, you would legalise gay marriage throughout the whole European Union.
Which you would have to do, because as they were pointing out, look, in France, you are legally a married couple with a child, you are a family. Drive through Italy, you're two single people with an orphan. How the fuck does that work?
Exactly, and if they recognised it in that sense, the way the legislation is currently proposed in the European Parliament, they would then recognise basically every other state would then sign a treaty which would recognize marriage from any other state. I mean, let's say you're a gay couple in Italy where you can't legally get a marriage to your partner. You could just drive to Germany or to France or wherever you want, wherever currently it's legal, or Netherlands or England, get married there, and then Italy would be legally required to recognize your marriage. Same goes for every other country. So at which point you would have a Vegas-style probably economy in probably Amsterdam. I'm going to assume that's where it's going to end up. So you'd have a Vegas-style economy in Amsterdam where couples that can't get married in other states will be able to get married, which would be a great step forward. I'm hoping that the far-right wing kind of misses this legislation because it's worded in a way that is, I think, on purpose, vaguely worded, so they miss it. But we'll have to wait and see.
Ah, okay. Anybody else have anything to say?
I don't know. This whole idea that what the what the Bishop of Canterbury said, that the violence that will happen in Africa because of England's great fall in the moral standing of the mind of a Christian. I mean, like I said before, I think it's just much of a stretch. I'm sure some Christians will be hurt in Africa. I don't know. I'm not exactly 100% sure what the situation is there, is exactly down there, but England, I'm pretty sure, doesn't have a lot to do with Africa anymore. And the Anglican Church isn't the Catholic Church. It's not this big monolithic thing that affects world events, and can murder hundreds of people with one statement that condoms don't work. No one really takes the Anglican Church all that seriously. Hell, the Anglican Church doesn't take itself all that seriously. But I mean, like, I think it's just overblowing this whole concept. Like, if Africa finds out that the Anglican Church accepts gay people, they will be rioting in the street. And I'm sure, like one African guy will hear the news and go, it's obvious they're all a bunch of puffs there anyway. They'll just confirm what they already think about you guys.
Exactly. I can only agree with that. Practically.
Have to agree to. It's like, yeah, who cares?
Okay then. Well, and on that bombshell, I think it's fair to say that we're done with that topic. So, good night from Fratis.
Good night.
And Milan.
The sky will scream when it grows a mouth of clouds and aeroplane parts.
You took the words right out of my mouth. And Pingay.
And good night and have a skillful time.
He said it. Have a skillful time. So, I hope everybody enjoyed this edition of London After Midnight, and good night, Internet. Good night, everyone.